Hi, this is Takara963 and I wanted to welcome you again to my channel. Today is Tuesday and also that will be the day that I will be posting videos as well. So I wanted to let you guys know that I am going to be posting a WordPress, hosting a WordPress account soon. But for right now, I already have 3 stories in mind that I want to tell you guys about. In order, they are the Dictator and Me, the Pollen, and Kingpin and Witch. So the first one would be the Dictator and Me. That one is about our NC Audrey and how she unknowingly helped our dictator, and how while she's trying to just have a normal day of going to school, taking her test, she actually gets a lot of texts from him warning her to go with this car, go in this car, go with this person, because she was actually about to be seized by the U.S. government, and because of all the war crimes that she helped unknowingly do. She did not, how did she not know that she did them? Well, they had met online, and so he was saying how, he was having trouble with this or that, and her thinking of where she met a lot of other people that they were writers themselves, and how she was like, well, maybe you can do this to a character for this person or this character and whatnot. And so she continuously helped him, and so he paid her with gifts and money and things like that. She had a lot of expensive luxury gifts from him, but she didn't think anything of it because she figured, oh, his book was very good or whatnot. And so she was just like, it's a friend helping a friend. She's done that to other people she's done online and just hasn't met in the real life world. And so when he takes her, he doesn't just take her, he takes her family as well and helps them towards this island that he owns for right now. And so basically, our Audrey, who is in this, wakes up to find that she helped not only just any dictator, but one of the worst in the world that is still alive. And so she basically has to come to grips with that, and how all the others around her see her as this badass, just evil person who's able to torture people. But she's like, I may have helped him, I may have done this, I may have done that, but she did not knowingly help him. And so she'll see a lot in that story of how she will just feel so much pressure because she's a very distant, emotionally social person. And so so to go from asking her parents to help because she's a young adult going into college, to now that her parents have to ask her for help for the money that the dictator has given her to buy this, buy this, buy this. And so she has to always constantly be worrying about, are her parents okay if she does this? Is she going to be okay for doing this? Is her brother going to be okay for doing this? Is the people, how to help these people as well that she's unknowingly helped put through pain and hell, because she's not just so good, but she's so good that when they use her tactics, that they'd rather kill themselves and go through another round of torture. So for her to be alive, to see that, to see the smells, to see the pain on the people, to hear the people go in day constantly out, and then she has to just become aware of it, and she's not good at that. So you'll really be reading how she is dealing with that, handling from going to make sure myself is safe, make sure my parents are safe, make sure my brother is safe, then to making sure as best as she can to distill some of her pain and torture to and yet still help the person, these people, though of course they see her as distrustful as a person who brings them pain. And so she'll be, some days she'll just go through it, but then other days she's just shuts off. She is just so emotionally tired from having to deal with emotions that she's just never had to really strongly feel, that she's just mechanical. She's just going through the motions of just being like, yeah, sure, whatever, you need me to get this information out of him, let's do this. And it's not just her who's also being the torturer, because she also has to, this isn't just her, the only person doing her job, it's also a more seasoned person named Marty or Pete, I believe. And how when he first sees her, he sets off this very like friendly competition of, all right, let's see who can get this information out and who can do this and who can do that. So it's not just her and the dictator and the other torturer. There's just a round table of bad guys, and how she has to make her place in this world. And she's scared because to her, as she compares herself, she is a tiny kitten, house kitten, compared to all these lions and tigresses. And so she's just like, how is she going to make a name for herself in this very just disturbing, scary world, while also trying to make sure that she is still loved by her family as well, because she notices that her parents don't feel affection or love for her as much anymore because they see her as this torturer, and that there's this now this like wall of things that you can't we want to talk about but you just can't wrap your head around as well. And for Audrey, she doesn't really get a reprieve because if she wants to go off to her balcony to get some fresh air, she can look straight ahead in this beautiful paradise place, but if she looks down and hearing that noise, then she sees the other soldiers, then she sees the people who are about to go get tortured, people who are in pain, the people who are working endlessly for this dictator and whatnot. And that's just the island. They haven't even moved to the central location just yet because he's still gathering his forces. So it's just very painful for her to live in this world now that she knows, instead of the one of she was just a college student going for nursing. So it's very very interesting for that, for her. And you'll just really read her be emotional, and then she'll just slowly phase out, that she just doesn't care as much anymore. She doesn't really want to care anymore, but she feels like she has to as a human being, and that she knows just from her family's reactions that this isn't normal behavior. So she's also trying to find a way of, can she escape this and still be safe, and can her family still be safe, or no, did she unintentionally doom her mom, her brother, her dad, and her baby sister as well to this life that she did not know. The second story that I will be posting is called The Pollen, and it is actually a club in the story setting for our MC Jennifer, short for Jen. We call her Jen in this story. But basically, she goes with her friend Tasha. Tasha is her friend who is that one friend who you guys will do a little bit of dangerous stuff, but then everything will work out really well. And so when Tasha takes her to this really very exclusive club called the Pollen with a flower on it and everything, that's when Tasha's like, hey, it's really weirdly set up that because it's all male, there's no other, only so many females, just because this is called the Pollen because it's a bunch of male assassins and killers and things like that who just either want to just have sex or pass on their genes and have a child with someone. And so Audrey is a little bit riskier. She had a few drinks in. She's just feels very vulnerable at this point of time right now, that she's just like, sure. So she has risky sex with, without a condom, and sees where the dice roll, and she ends up pregnant, of course. So she talks to the guy. She made sure to get his number just for that and be like, hey, I took some pregnancy tests. And then he's just like, well, I want you to confirm it with our family plans, like doctor, go to this place. And she's like very nervous and because she's like, this is a very rich knit area that you need to only go by appointment and things like that. But she does go see the doctor, and they confirm that yes, you are pregnant. And then she has to get used to the idea of being pregnant with an assassin's child. But right now she is safe, of course, but also she comes to grips when that child is there, just what is going to be with that child's life, and how is her life going to differ from that, because this is basically the one question is mainly for the Pollen is, can you raise a child knowing that they would be an assassin? And so she will come to grips with her child because he noticed everything, like how long it took for him to learn to walk compared to the other children he had, how much longer it takes for this child to learn to hold things with their own hands and stuff, comparing this child. And as well, she wonders, could she, meet a normal guy, because she's after this, she's done with danger. She just wants safe and normal. But she's like, could she even have normal with a man, knowing that the father's coming in, but he's very broody, he's this compared to a not so normal person. And also, if she does have a child with this normal man, this child, the different of raising this child, because the first child, it's very different, because like when she takes them to Temple Tots, it won't be just normal. The instructor will be like, hey, did good job. They'll be like, well, he didn't do this, or you guys really practicing on this, on this, on that. And she's just like, we don't really have the time. It's just really a fun thing for him that his father said. And he was just like, oh, I get it. He's not really good with the body, so he's going to be academically smart. He's going to do this, do this, do this. And she's just like, that's when it once again hits her that right, she can't let her kid fall behind, or else that will look bad on her and reflect on her and what could be her future child and what is her future child's life. So you'll see when she does interact with other moms, it's very stage mom, that it's very my child is better than your child, things like that. But it doesn't come from malice, it actually comes from fear and love, that if your child is not the best, that when they get sent out there, that when they go on their first test, will they come back? Will they come back pained, hardened? Will they come back scarred? So it's always just that constant fear for the moms up until they die, just of what will happen to my child? What will they get this mark? Will they do this? Will they do this? So for our MC Jen, it's very different when she goes to see like an action movie and she watches the guy, like she watches a guy get killed, an agent or an assassin. She's just like, oh, can that move be real life, or is that just all this? And then she'll like look to her son, just like then you'll see her shift to she wants her child to be perfect and amazing, just because she's worried that that something will happen as best as she can. So as best as she can, she's trying to prepare this child as well. And so you really will see if she has another child, if how she raises that child, because the second child is if will it be normal with a normal man, or will she have it with another man, or with the same man? Because if she does, that's once again more added pressure to stress to her, because that child is set for life. Its destiny is already told that they will be an assassin. They just don't know how they will fit, but you will be an assassin. Your father's an assassin, your brother, your sibling, sister is an assassin, so you have to be it too. But if she has a child with a normal man, then that child is destiny is not foretold. You don't know what'll happen. You're talking to a doctor, lawyer, educator. It can be literally everything. And so that's one thing you'll have to be reading to see, just be like, well, will there be jealousy and conflict, because the oldest will have to always do this, always have to do that, always have to leave, always have to do this, while the second child is free to do whatever they want, just because their destiny is foretold. They don't have to do this, that they can learn to do this and learn to not like it. While if the first child, if their father says, I want them in this, you best believe you're going to put them in this. So you just have to make sure that you have to always make sure that your child is very safe, and as much as you can, you also want to put so much love into them, because you never know when their father takes them, could something go wrong? Will they not be the same? Will they have a constant look in their eyes? So you're wondering what damage could be upon your child. So that was what you'll see in the Pollen. My third story that I'm going to put up on WordPress is Kingpin and Witch. That one is, the funny thing is that though he's in the title, the Kingpin is actually a side character, but I just like the title of Kingpin and Witch. But you will read how the witch, who I yet to name, and how she is fighting for the crown, not for the crown, but of which community, but for her family as well. And so you'll read how she, what she has to do to take those steps to do so. And one of her family's rules is that before you start anything, before you go and fight and do something that could potentially kill you, you have to continue that bloodline. So she has to have a child. It's that she knew that she wanted to do this really early on. She had the child in middle school, right when she knew that her mother was planning to move them to another nicer part that will fit their goals in mind. So she had the child in middle school right when she was leaving that summer, and then that her and her mother cooked up the plan that it's not going to be your son, it's going to be your brother. And she's okay with that, because she's like, the rules only state I just have to have a child. And so that's what they do, and she has him, and she calls him her brother, but she is really good at that. She sees him as her brother, and that is what she does. She raises him as an older sister taking care of her brother, as her mother is slowly, from her own trials and tribulations, is slowly losing her mind from her powers as well. So you will also see that. Another thing you'll see is her friend, who she actually got, who was sick, so sick that she had cancer, that she actually took a deal with a devil to turn her friend into a succubus. So you'll see her friend, who's a succubus, come in, and they'll always be together, because she knew her from middle school, her friend knew her, and so that she helps move with her as well. And you'll just see how they're thick as thieves there, and how you'll also coming in amongst the story of how her succubus friend, how she helps her how it's not just a take give, it's they really are best friends, they're more like sisters. And how one of her cousins, because everyone in this family who goes to fight for the family's title of being in charge, you'll see one of them, her cousin Rico, who also has, he actually has twins, and how his friend, he also made a deal with the devil as well, but not for a succubus, but another more enthralling enchanted creature. And how she's on Instagram, she became an Instagram model, and in like a short amount of time already getting promotion deals in like 3 or 4 months. I said it was a very short time, but because it's her voice and whatnot, she's very compelling, she's very pretty and things like that, and she loves that attention because she didn't always have it because her family was military, so they're always moving, but she just loves it, she's enthralled by it. And so I named her her Instagram account because I made her more of the type where you don't really notice her beauty. So it's she wasn't really noticed her at first. So when she does is now beauty, she just calls it Plain Jane, Playne Jayne, and so that is her little thing, and so that is what she calls herself. And so when Plain Jane and the succubus meet, at first they don't like each other just because of their biology and species, but they learn that they're just like, we're gonna just sit back and watch what happens because we both care for our friends. And also, so they learn a companionship, and they'll even talk about how they don't really care for, well, one of them, succubus, she doesn't actually care for all the attention while Plain Jane does, and she's just like, well, why don't you become this, why don't you become that, we could literally be anything. And she's just like, I only had this done to me to save my life. She basically is still the same, just healthier, and she's saved. And so they talk about what they had to give up and what has happened since they've had these transformations. And like the good parts, of course, everyone flocking to them, they get what they want and things like that. And of course, the bad side is the sexual harassment, and how they're stronger, and how they couldn't really stay with their families anymore, and how their other supernatural creatures are just drawn to them, and that how sometimes it's been very scary for them. And so they are able to draw upon this as well. And you'll see that they are really the confidants of their friend, and how sometimes if they do as well will fight and they try to get over it, but because it's their biology, there's just something that will rile and shift underneath their skin, and they just have to sometimes take a breather and not see each other, but they still come back together over this. So you will actually be seeing quite a lot of that. So those are the 3 stories that I will be posting on WordPress. I have not yet made my account. I just want to tell you guys a little bit about what that's going to happen with those, though. I will, my next video, tell you guys when that shall be posted. But for now, I want to tell you guys that I will be posting my videos on Tuesdays. So I just wanted to say that. And then remember the 3 stories, The Dictator and Me, for the Pollen, and Kingpin and the Witch. And bye!